Hi everybody, Jeremy here from Video Studio, and today I'm going to try to recreate an effect that I saw in a video from Johnny Harris. At some point in the video, he's using some sort of 3D map effect, and I wanted to try to recreate that inside of Davinci Resolve. I'm sure there's a lot of different ways to do it, and mine is probably not the best, but I wanted to find a way that was beginner friendly so anyone could try to tackle something like that. So if you're ready, let's check it out. Alright, so first off, to do this, you're going to need a high quality map. I found this website, archive.org, that provide public domain map that seems to be pretty high quality. So I'm just going to use this for my map. I will put the link in the description below. Once you are in Davinci Resolve, you can just bring a new Fusion composition and then move over to Fusion. Now we're going to bring a new background and link the output of that background to the media out. Then we're going to change the color of that background. So let's just select green right here and actually adjusting a bit more towards the cyan, between the green and cyan. This seems to be pretty good. If you wonder the color code, that's this. Then click OK. Then we're just going to hit Shift Space on our keyboard and we're going to search for grid, bring that in, and then we're going to reduce the marginal line spacing down to 0. And here we're going to right click on the horizontal line width and select expression. Link that expression to the vertical line width, and then we're just going to reduce that to 0.1 maybe, and change the color to something between yellow and green. So here, let's just select yellow and make it darker. That's good, I'm happy with that. If you want to have the exact same color as me, you can simply just copy that code and paste it into your X color. Select OK, and then we're going to bring some texture to that background by bringing some grain. So we're going to select our grid, hit Shift Space on our keyboard, and we're going to search for grain, and then here make sure to bring the film grain, this one specifically. Bring that in. Then we're just going to toggle the freeze because we don't want that grain to actually be animated. We just want to create some texture. So here I'm just going to increase the grain size. I'm going to increase the texture, and then I'm going to increase the opacity a bit. You might not even be able to see it with the YouTube compression, but I usually just like to try to create some texture as much as possible, just to make it look a bit less digital. Then we're going to drag our map in the working area. The map, once you download it, is in PDF on the website that I've shown, so just make sure to convert it online to a PNG format. Then you can just take it and drag it here in your working area, and then link the output of that media in to the film grain. Now we're going to select the media in, hit Shift Space on our keyboard and bring a transform node, enter, and now we're going to just reduce the size of that map. Then here, as you can see, I have some excess on the top and bottom. So I'm going to select my media in, and then here I'm going to select the rectangle mask, and we're just going to adjust that mask just to cover up a bit the top and bottom and get rid of that excess. Perfect, that's already a pretty good start. Now let's just add the name on the map. So we're gonna add the USA, Liberia, and Myanmar. We're gonna do that on a new branch right here. So I'm gonna bring a new background to serve as a canvas, and we're gonna reduce the alpha channel down to 0. Then I'm gonna bring a new text node and then link the output of that text to my background, then link the output of that merge to my second merge. So we're going to start with the first name, the United States. I'm going to change the font for Montserrat, change from bold to semi-bold, and then here we're just going to reduce the size by a lot and bring it right above the United States. Then we're going to repeat the same process for Liberia by copying the text that we just created, then paste it right next to it and link the output of that text to the merge to output. Then here we're going to call it Liberia, and we're going to move it right above Liberia. And then one last time, we're just going to paste the text again and link the output to the output of the merge. And then here we're going to change the name for Myanmar and move it above Myanmar. And then now we're going to create the line for each one of them. To do that, we're going to bring a new background in our working area, link the output of that background again to our merge to output. Here we're going to change the color from black to white. Then we're going to click on our polyline stroke, and we're going to draw it from the map of the US to the text United States. Then we can just change the border width to 0.002, and then repeating the process by bringing a new polygon, linking the output of that polygon to the first one, and we're going to draw again from Liberia to the text Liberia, and here border width 0.002 again. And we're going to repeat the same process with Myanmar by here bringing a new polygon, linking it to our second one, and then drawing here from Myanmar to the text Myanmar. and then we can change the border width again to 0.002. Now we have our layout. Let's bring all that in a 3D space and start to add some movement with a 3D cam. So here I'm just gonna add between my merge and my media out a 3D space by bringing here an image plane 3D, and then I'm gonna bring a merge and then a render 3D. Now we can unlink the merge from the media out and instead link it to the image plane 3D, and then link the output of the render 3D to the media out. Let's just bring all that down. And now we're gonna delete all merge tool right there. And instead we're gonna bring a new image plane 3D, and we're gonna link the output of this merge to the image plane 3D, and then this to the merge. Now it might get a bit overwhelming, but don't worry, it should get a bit clearer in a second. So now we're just gonna bring a 3D cam, and we're gonna link the output of that 3D cam to the merge. Now if we go over to transform, and that we just bring up the Z value, as you can see, we're unzooming from that map. Now I'm just gonna close here my effect library, and I'm gonna bring my double viewer, and now I'm just gonna bring the merge 3D to my left view, just so you can see. Right there, we've just created a 3D space, and we're gonna basically be moving the camera within that 3D space right there. And that's what's gonna be creating our scene. But before that, the first thing I want to do is here going to my image plane 3D, going to transform, and then here we're gonna switch the rotation. Right now, let's just go with 15. You might not be able to see very well here on screen, but basically right there, we're adjusting the X axis of the name to just make them a bit more 3D when we're gonna go through with the camera, because we didn't create the text and the line in a 3D space. I wanted to make the tutorial as easy as possible to follow, and that's just the easiest way I found out how to make that, rather than creating everything within a 3D environment that require a bunch of extra knowledge to just get around. So right now we're just gonna use that workaround, and I'm just gonna go with a value that is not too high with the X, and right now let's just go with 15. Now that we have everything set up, we're just gonna start to keyframe all camera movement. So I'm gonna go over to my camera 3D node. Here on the Z axis, I'm gonna go at 1.6, just basically having everything in frame before starting keyframing. We're gonna go down to frame 0, and then here we're gonna select use target. Now I'm just gonna drop a keyframe on the translation on the X, Y, and Z axis, and then here on the target on the X, Y, and Z axis as well. Then I'm gonna go to frame 30, and we're gonna place the camera to whatever position we want. So here I could just go to my second viewer, and I could just move the camera right there within the viewer. A quick trick to get around that 3D space, if you want to rotate, you can just hold Shift, and then by just scrolling around, you'll be able to rotate here your vision. So you could take the camera and just place it to wherever you want. But as you can see, the value in the inspector are changing, so we could just change the value as well right there. Then you can just play around until you get a value that you are happy with. And then you can also play around here with the target position to adjust the angle and where the camera is pointing at basically. Right now, I'm not gonna make any adjustment to it. Now I'm gonna go at frame 60, and then here I'm gonna drop again keyframe on the X, Y, and Z position, and actually nothing here on the target because I'm not using it at the moment. And then here I'm gonna go to frame 90, and I'm gonna move my camera to the left side by moving the value that way and bringing down the camera a little bit like that. And now if we play it, as you can see, we have the camera moving in the 3D space, and we have the render here in my right viewer. But the camera movement could be more smooth, so we're gonna go over to the spline editor. Here we're gonna select our camera, and then here click zoom to fit to have all point. Then select everything and hit S on our keyboard just to smooth out everything up. Now we could also add a drop shadow behind our text to make it pop a little more right here. It's hard to see the U of the United States now that we just made some movement and that the white is blending over there. So we could just here make some space between the merge and the image plane 3D, and then hit shift space on our keyboard, bring a drop shadow. And then here, I'm just gonna make some adjustment to bring the shadow strength to the maximum. Then here, I'm gonna adjust the drop distance to make it a bit closer to the text. And then here, the blur, we're gonna go with 0.4. And it just really helps to make the text pop a little more. Now, another thing that you may have noticed with this technique is that now, depending on the movement of the camera, the point of the line may not land perfectly on the initial point where it started. So if that's the case and the movement is really too harsh, for example, as you can see for Liberia and Myanmar, it's not too bothering. It's staying overall pretty center on the country, but for the US, there is quite a big difference between the starting point and here the end point. So if you really want to be a bit more precise with that, you can just go back to your polygon tool, and then here we're just going to use insert and modify, select the point that we want to keyframe, and then here we can just hit publish point, and now we can simply move that point around. So for example, if I wanted to stay focused on the point over Florida, for example, I could just take my point and then here adjusting it. Obviously, as you can see, there is a bit of offset between the actual line and the point, but anyway, you can just control it that way. Then go to frame 0, adjust it to wherever you want. You can drop a keyframe here and then go to the last frame and adjust here the position to bring it right above Florida again. And if it doesn't end up in the right spot across your animation, you can just continue to drop some keyframe along the line to make sure it's always matching with your original point. And here you go, now it's always pointing right above Florida. And that's pretty much it. I hope this video was helpful. That was quite interesting to do, to just try to recreate something that is already existing. I'm sure there is a ton of different ways to go about it, but that's the easiest way I found to do something like that for beginners. Please let me know in a comment what kind of video you would like to see next. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and see you in the next one. Bye! Speed up your workflow and create better videos using the pack available on our website, including titles, transition, and templates, but only for Davinci Resolve. Get started today by downloading our free starter pack containing a compilation of 20 titles curated from our library. Link in the description below or at videoditastudio.com.